Kill me, I'm here! Kill me!
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Manchester by the Sea, the Oscar-nominated movie starring Ben Affleck that I just got the chance to check out and I think it definitely deserves the praise it's getting. I definitely understand why Casey Affleck gets nominated for an Oscar for this movie. I mean, his character is is on the verge of being almost silent throughout a great deal of this movie. Like, you could totally understand why the people in his life might be frustrated by him, because you can barely get a word out of him edgewise. Just a very, very quiet guy, but his performance is so great, because even though he says very, very little, his expressions say so much, and he's not over emoting. Like, he's not like making faces like, you know, that'd be me in this role, you know what I mean? But like his face, honestly, for the most part, like, you feel like he's not saying very much. You feel like when you're looking at his face, like it's almost static, but he almost has like these micro expressions that tell an entire story that's going on below the surface of this character. And for those of you who don't know anything about the story, I'll give you the broad strokes without trying to ruin anything for you or spoil anything for you. But basically, it's this guy who ends up going home to his hometown because his oldest brother, or only brother, I guess, dies, and he basically goes there to kind of deal with like all of the funeral planning or whatever. And he finds out that his brother named him the guardian of his nephew, who is in his teens. He looks like he could be like 18, but obviously in the movie he's not. But he's getting pretty close, a couple years away from there, and he is not on board to be taking over this role whatsoever at first. And you find out, and again, I'm gonna say this without giving much of anything away. But basically, he has some very bad memories of the town that they're at, and that's all I'm gonna say about that, because I don't want to reveal anything to you. But when you find out what those memories are, it's quite heartbreaking, and you can completely understand why it would be very difficult for him to be there, and especially because of like some of the reactions of the various people in the town. And I'll be honest with you right now, there is a moment that comes late in this movie where he's having a discussion with a woman that was a part of his life that, I teared up, because it was to even imagine what his character would be going through in that moment was just heartbreaking. And I'm not a guy who tears up or cries in very many movies whatsoever. A lot of time, like, I'll be honest with you, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was the guy who would be over in the corner kind of pointing and laughing at the people who were crying at this movie, even if it was a scene that I recognized was extremely emotional. I was just always found it funny. But as I've gotten older and matured and look at the world in a very different way, and suffered some losses myself, I get much more invested in these movies. But even still, I don't cry at very, very many movies whatsoever, and this movie totally got me. Like, it didn't get me in a way that I felt was like exploitative. Like, there's certain movies that will get you to cry or whatever, and you could argue that if that happens, the movie's at least successful on the level that it got you to feel enough that you had this kind of physical reaction. But there's sometimes where you watch a movie and it kind of gets you upset while you're watching it, and you kind of think about it and reflect on it maybe a little bit afterwards and be like, well, I was kind of manipulated into that spot. Like, it didn't necessarily earn that reaction from me. It was more they brought up a hot button topic with me that got me there, right? That is not what I felt with this movie whatsoever. Like, I felt like the story was extremely well told, and it's the best from a story perspective. The thing that I liked the most about this was that there was so many characters in this movie that you kind of you start to you empathize with them a great deal, but they also are doing things that you as the viewer, you're like, wow, I don't necessarily agree with that or whatever. But you know, in those kinds of situations, people do things that they probably shouldn't, or and they're not, you know, it's not like stuff like, you know, going on robbing the bank or something like that. It's not anything egregious, but these little things that people would say, or the attacks that somebody would do in their grief and that kind of thing. Those these moments happen, and you know, you're like, oh, you know, you wish for the character that they could take that back. And even there's a character that's doing something that's fairly reprehensible. I'm going to say what it is, but I won't tell you what character it is. But there's a character that's, you know, is two-timing somebody that he's involved with romantically. You know, I find that to be something that's entirely reprehensible to do. But even though that's happening, you never sit back in judgment really of him, because, or at least I didn't, because, you know, in the situation that they're in, even though that's his choice to do that clearly came before all of this, it's really hard to judge what anybody would do in those kinds of moments in their lives. And but at the same time, everything that everybody does in this movie, like literally, there wasn't a moment in this movie that felt false for me. Not one. Every single time, everything that everybody did fit their character setup, their situation, and I absolutely adore that about a movie. I think when a story takes place and it is extrapolated on and makes perfect sense, and also really gets you emotionally invested, and has moments of catharsis and moments where you're really emotional for them, and upset for the characters in the movie. I don't know what more than that you can ask for out of a drama. I mean, this is not the feel-good movie of the year. There are definitely moments that will put a smile on your face, but even then, it's a mild one. And this is not a pick-me-up kind of movie whatsoever, but it is definitely a movie that I think is worth watching, especially if you're like me. I'm somebody who really tries to check out all of the Oscar-nominated movies, because you know, for me, I like to check out any movie that has a decent amount of praise, or at least a decent amount of discussion, so that I can be a part of that discussion and have my own opinions. And I definitely think this movie, obviously, just by the fact it was nominated, is worth watching for some people. But even if that's not you, even if you don't give a crap about the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes or any of that stuff, I still think this is an interesting movie to watch, and a movie that will kind of make you reflect on life and death and the meaning of both. So those were my thoughts on Manchester by the Sea. Let me know in the comments below if you watched it. Let me know if you didn't like it. I do understand why somebody could possibly not. I didn't. I liked it a lot. I liked it very, very much. But this is not a movie that is going to, I think, going to have universal appeal. So I'd be very interested to hear from people who didn't like it, and hear their thoughts on why. And other than that, please hit that like button. It does huge things for my channel. It makes it so YouTube will put me in those little recommended things that are all important these days, to get people to come check out your channel, which really is, I do this to talk to all the people that I possibly can about these movies, because it's really fun to have these conversations with you guys about movies because I'm very passionate about movies. Otherwise, I wouldn't call myself Matthew Movies on here, would I? That would just be silly. And yeah, please comment below. Let me know everything you thought, like I said, and hit that subscribe button. If you're new to this channel, I just love talking to you guys about all things movies, and it means the world to me when I am able to. So the more people that come and check out my channel, the more that's going to be likely to happen. So I would be very appreciative if you guys could do that. And other than that, have yourself a nice day.